Hey guys, what's up? So this video was not really part of the plan for today. So my plan was to initially just make review videos for some products that were sent to me last week that are supposed to be reviewed today, but for some reason the electricity just went off because I just heard lightning outside, and then maybe I figured that it must have hit something on top of the rooftop and just cut out the power. So yeah, so I guess we'll have to change our plans for today, and maybe we can discuss how I got into cameras. So maybe you guys think that I just started falling in love with cameras when I started my YouTube channel, but no, I did not. I started cameras way back in, I think, when I was still taking up nursing school, when I was still in university. So the first course that I took up back in university was nursing. I didn't really want to do nursing, but since I did not plan well enough back in high school as to what course I was going to take after I graduate, so I just took up nursing, which was suggested by my family because most of them are into the medical field. So yeah, going back to the story. So there I was taking up nursing. That was a time where I was really into skateboarding. And then at that time I did not really like doing any photography or videography. So there was this one time that I was skateboarding with my friends, and then I noticed that I wanted to document some of my progress with my skateboarding. So what I did was I borrowed my friend Jane's at that time there were these cameras that came with gaming consoles, like those China. You can hear the thunder, right? It's really loud. So at that time there were like these gaming consoles with cameras built in. So I would borrow her device and use it to shoot. And that was pretty sad because I could only shoot whenever I could borrow it, because at that time I don't think the PSP was released yet. So I could only borrow it whenever she's not using it. So at that time I could actually make videos, I think, once every month, and at that time YouTube was not so popular yet. I think it was already popular, but I was not really just watching so much of it. So at that time I was starting to make videos, right? I think that was back in 2009 I got into videography. So 2009 was the first time that I really started falling in love with the videography aspect of cameras. So like what I said, I borrowed Jane's camera, right? And then I would make videos, but I did not know where to post them. I would just save them just so I can rewatch any videos that I made before. So the next thing I did was, when I was already, I think I shifted to IT. IT is information technology. I studied that as my next course. I flunked to nursing school and I went to study IT. And then at that time, I think I was doing magic shows. Just in case you guys don't know, I'm also a magician. So whenever I have spare time, I would do magic shows for birthday parties. And using the money that I earned from that, I bought my first Nikon Coolpix camera. It's a point and shoot camera, and at that time I think the highest resolution that it could shoot was, I think, not even 720 yet. I may be safe to say it could shoot at most 720p, which was at that time pretty good. And I was very proud of that camera. I was able to use it for many of my magic shows. I could just put it on a tripod and just film my progress. And you can already see that my passion for videography has already started building up on that. So my first camera was a Nikon Coolpix. It was this bright red camera that was not expensive at all. I don't know how much it costed me to buy that, but I was very, very proud of that purchase. So year 2013 was my first encounter with a DSLR camera. So my dad just bought this Canon 60D, and at that time it was my first time to see a camera that you could actually remove the lens and see the sensor. I was like blown away. I was like, wow, this thing is amazing. And I asked my dad if I could borrow it. Of course he would not trust it to me because that was a very expensive camera, right? So I think one time he let me borrow it. There was a skateboarding competition. I was not going to join that competition, but I brought a camera with me. I said that I wanted to shoot, so I asked my dad, "Dad, can you please let me borrow it? I promise I'm not going to ride while shooting, just in case I do fall, I'm not going to drop it on the floor." So my dad let me borrow it. He was using the Sigma 24-70 f2.8 lens. Wow, that was such an amazing lens. I think it's still a good lens, but at that time it was really a top of the line, you can say, because at that time Canon was so expensive. So yeah, going back to the story. I started loving doing photography at that time. Believe it or not, I actually did photography at one point in my life. I thought I would love photography because that was the first time I saw the lens that could actually do blurry background. So bokeh is when you get blurry background light, right? You can achieve blurry backgrounds by having the camera have a high aperture. So that's too techie. So let's go back to the story. So I was taking photos. I was heavily post-processing them. At that time, I think I was using Lightroom. And I think when I was joining my club meetings as a magician, I'm a magician based in the Philippines, right? I was joining my club meetings, and then I was slowly falling in love with videography again. Because at some point I stopped videography. I maybe did a little bit of photography and I did videography, and then I was starting to film myself practicing different magic effects. I was even helping my friends film some stuff. And yeah, that was an amazing time, come to think of it. I really enjoyed that time so much that I just loved videography so much, and it always came naturally to me. Whenever there was something happening, there was a higher chance that I would take a video over taking a photo. Wow, that was just a beautiful lightning. I would not. What's the difference between lightning and thunder? I think lightning is when you see the thing, right? The bolt, and thunder is what you hear. Am I correct? Comment down below if I'm right or wrong. So going back to my story. So back in that day, 2014 to 2015 was a time that I was really taking different videos, posting videos on Facebook just to share to my friends. And yeah, I never really owned a real camera. And 2015, I think, or 16, I was still doing magic shows, and for that period of time, I bought myself my very first action camera. It was an SJ4000. 4000? Yeah, SJ4000. It was an action camera, like a GoPro killer at that time, because most of us, like me, we could not afford to buy those expensive GoPros. So I bought myself an SJ4000 action camera. At that time, I think that could at least shoot 1080p, which was amazing. It could shoot a decent 60 FPS as well. And I would shoot my longboarding friends, skateboarding friends. That camera has been through it all. Imagine that. I only had one battery. And I can't believe that we managed to shoot so many videos with just that camera. And I even remember borrowing my dad's, I forgot what camera, the Sony point-and-shoot camera. And then we were shooting a skateboard video with it. And then my friend, I think it was on a monopod, like a selfie stick. I think my friend accidentally whacked it on the floor. And I was so freaking out. I didn't know how I was going to tell my dad that the lens would not retract again. That freaked me out. I think it took about a year before my dad found out that it broke. And of course I had to tell the truth. But I think I told him that it was my fault. It was not my friend's fault. I think I made up a story wherein it was my fault. So yeah. The camera that I was using in that period of time was the SJ4000, which was a very reliable and cheap action camera. Okay, so fast forward a little bit. When I came to Hong Kong, I started working as a teacher. I started saving up a little bit. I could finally afford my very first DSLR camera. No, at that time I did not buy a DSLR camera right away. I was using my smartphone. I bought some things that you can attach to the camera to the smartphone to make it more professional, like cages, light and stuff. And then eventually I bought my first camera. It was the Canon 200D. I love that camera so much. That 200D I sold to my friend Daniel. He's probably enjoying it right now. That camera has so much sentimental value to me. I love that camera so much. My whole career basically started on that camera here in Hong Kong. So yeah, so I bought the 200D, and I bought a bunch of different lenses. I started exploring the GlideCam, Devon Graham stabilizer, because now they're all using these gimbals, right? In 2017, I didn't go for a gimbal right away. I used the old school GlideCam Steadicams. If you guys know what I'm talking about, it's like the old OG gimbal. So yeah, so I got the 200D, and I think after a year, I bought the Canon M50, which I loved as well, which Clara and I sold as well to her company, and I'm sure they're enjoying that camera as well. And eventually, one day, my friend Daniel, who bought the 200D, was so nice enough to buy the 200D because he knows that I want to upgrade into my dream camera, the Panasonic GH5. The Panasonic GH5. I've been wanting this camera for almost 2 years. Wow, the Panasonic GH5 really changed my life. It's like my first really expensive camera that could do so much stuff that a cinema camera could do, but of course not at the same price level. So I love the GH5 so well. I still have it. And after the GH5, I got my Sony A6400. Sony's a6400 really changed my game, because with the M50 you get 4K, right? But the problem is there's such a big crop, and yeah, I didn't really enjoy that part. So the Sony a6400 really changed everything. You still had autofocus in 120 FPS, you had no crop on 4K, and that was just pretty good. And right now, present day, I'm using the Sony ZV-1. I'm shooting on it right now. I like this camera so much. It's so small. Yeah, it can do pretty much anything except low light. Oh, I forgot that I also got a Canon G7X Mark II sometime around 2019, I think, or 2018. That camera was pretty good, but we ended up selling it as well. So yeah, that has been my adventure with cameras so far ever since I started. Never think that just because you don't have money that you cannot get into an art form. You could always start small. Your adventure begins when you start making stuff. This is the beauty about getting into an art form. It doesn't need much. It just needs your dedication, your passion, and your time, yeah, and effort as well. Learn to love what you have in front of you, what you have in your hands. You might not have the best right away, but one day you will be able to. So that's my encouragement for you guys, and this is my story about cameras as well. So hopefully, I think the electricity kicked back in. I think I saw the toilet light switch on. So thank you guys so much for watching this short little storytelling session of mine. I'll see you guys in the next one. I love you guys so much. Peace.